If it sounds weird, I apologize. I don't need to do another record. So if I'm going to do one, which I'm excited because their songs are falling out of the sky, then I absolutely want to make sure that every song is stellar on every level.
CCM! So let's kick this off and talk about some of the new music. According to the press releases, I know they got to talk about, this is return to form, all these different things. I have some thoughts on that, but in general, how does it feel to be kind of getting back into that zone after sort of the worship era that all of us kind of have been living through?
Yeah. It was fun. I didn't plan on it. Every time I find myself trying to write for a genre, it's a disaster. So I've really tried not to even do that. I've never tried to write a song for Christian radio or pop radio my whole life. I think anytime I've been intentional, it's been a Christmas record. Well, it's got to be Christmas. And if
there are some rules there.
There's some rules there. And instrumental, there's some rules there. There's no work.
Yeah.
It's a freedom, glory, whatever. But these things have just been falling out of the sky. I've just been catching it and going, wow, I love that. And then, I listen to my instincts inside my heart going, let's work with Michael Olson. Let's work with Ted T. Let's just venture out and see if we can explore some new territory. And that's what I've been doing.
And I think that's what it is. Some of the feedback I've seen has been like, oh, this is old classic Michael W. Smith. And I'm listening to it going, I'm pretty familiar with your work. Going, yeah, there's synth, there's some of that elements, but this doesn't feel like you're trying to recreate 1988. This feels like what should be the next iteration for you. And look, you're a dad, granddad. I'm sure there's some of that going, all right, I want this to be fun. I want my kids to like this. I want my grandkids to be able to enjoy this.
And I actually asked the grandkids, do you like this? I've got like a couple songs that the grandkids, matter of fact, don't be surprised if you see grandkids in a video, but I've got this new song called Sing, and they are just flipping out over it. So they're already coming up with a concept video for Sing. So I'm not trying to be 35. I'm not trying to be Forrest Frank. I'm just trying to be me. And I still love pop music. I still love European pop music. I still love bands like Car Park North and from Denmark and I just love the pop infectious kind of melodies that I think they still rule the day and turn to something like, oh my gosh, I can listen to that over and over and over again. I'm not writing it for that reason. It's what I grew up on. I grew up on Elton John, the Beatles, and Kansas, and Andre Crouch, and all that stuff.
I think that's what's forgotten is that there is a generation, your generation, and then my generation, which then was raised as the second generation Beatles fans, the second generation rock and roll fans.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we haven't gone anywhere. We're all still here.
Right.
So yes, sure. Should there be Forrest Frank? Absolutely. My 12-year-old loves him. That's great. But I'm also 40 and I need music that's speaking to me as well. And I feel like the idea of being like, oh, what radio is, what performance, like if you said, I'm just going to go try to write music for a 13-year-old, it would not work. It would not feel sincere. It would feel like you're making some sort of weird play.
Manufacturing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play it safe. And I'm not going to try to write a song specifically and everything about it to try to get it on radio. I'm just not going to do that.
Is it hard though when you're in that moment? Because I'm sure though you say I never write for that. But in that moment to be like, who am I writing for? Are you writing, Your Love is a Flood, knowing that there's an audience there, or are you writing it for you?
I'm writing it for me.
And that's always been the case.
Yeah. I mean,
are the songs speaking to you? I guess
yes.
What is. So when
you
sing Your Love is a Flood, who are you talking to yourself here?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the love of God. I'm talking about Abba. I mean, that's what
I'm saying your journey here.
I mean, to me, I'll never forget speaking with Kyle Lee, who produced half of a Million Lights, and we started going on this whole thing, who's your audience and whatever. And I remember he just looked at me and says, you need to make a record for you. What makes you tick? What makes you excited in the studio? What makes you just, oh, this is so good? You need to make that kind of record. I've never forgotten that. So when I write something like Your Love is a Flood, and I go in this crazy bridge, and I put my synth hat on, and I put my Jacob Collier hat on, and let's do some crazy vocals, and it's just being creative and making it fun and taking surprising people, not for the sake of surprising people. I just want to explore another continent. Let's go. Let's see where this thing's going to go. And then Ted speaking into it. And what if you did this? And what if you did that? And And then it's just all of a sudden you got a group effort, and all of a sudden you've got something where, wow, I think this thing is going to be awesome. This melody, Your Love is a Flood, is 5 years old.
What does that look like? You just go and composed it and just said, at some point we'll get around to it?
Well, I go back and I listen to those demos and going, why have I not done anything with this? There's like 5 of those. And when I was working with Jason Walker, who wrote the lyric, I told Jason, I said, I got all these songs that I can't shake. Why can't I shake? Because a lot of times you forget about the stuff you wrote a long time ago because you're writing better stuff now, you know.
You feel it,
Yeah.
better stuff.
And then you go back and go, I can't shake this. What is it about this? So I gave it to Jason, and 5 days later, he sent me a lyric idea. And that inspired me to write the bridge. And then we kind of go back and forth about the lyric. And all of a sudden, we had a song. And I think what we all loved about it was really unpredictable.
And it has a cinematic kind of flair to it.
Especially at the end.
At the end.
E.T.
Yeah, well, that's to say, one of my favorite parts of your shows more recently has been the John Williams tributes that you have done at the Christmas shows or whatever it may be. What was that inspiration like for you, knowing that that's sort of, that's modern classical. That's what if you think about what classical music is, that most people can identify.
Yeah.
It's John Williams cinematic scores.
Yeah, well, John Williams is my hero. He is the number one musical hero of anybody. It's his melodies and his little tricks he does with modulations and modulating up a third or down a third, and just because I don't know if you ever heard the story. I went and saw Raiders of the Lost Ark in '81. It changed my life. I saw it 28 times.
You think the music?
And I kept going back, going, oh, this is incredible. But about the 14th time I went back and going, why am I keep coming back? And it was the music. And that year was the year I began to write cinematic music because of that movie.
Because John Williams can take a movie that is okay
and make it spectacular.
Becomes one of the best
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Movies of all time. And you remember those songs for the rest of your life.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like there has to be, not that you're doing this, but when you're writing and composing, I feel like that is very different than the songwriter that traditionally would start with a lyric or come up with something.
Right. I'm always trying to find an excuse to somehow jump in the studio next week with a full symphony orchestra, on a pop song. On Flood, when I wrote that crazy ending, because I'm always writing these classical cinematic things, but I thought, why not? Why not get this whole end? And all of a sudden it just becomes E.T. Is what I thought. The first thing I thought was E.T. And I played that crazy F sharp over a D and the G minor 6 over the D. And all of a sudden I go, oh my gosh, it sounds like John Williams. And then that's when
then it gets you.
And then I'm in, and I call Tyler, my son, who's just killing it. He's scoring films, and I said, Tyler, I want to turn the end of this crazy pop thing I wrote into a cinematic piece at the end.
Have you played it live yet?
I have played it live. It's unbelievable.
Crowd reacts.
When we first go into it, they're like, they don't know what's going on, and then when the second half of the verse comes in, you got 4 on the floor.
Yeah,
and they're all
hook them. Because that's who your crowd is. And I think, again, that's where we get a little lost. There's also been the second life of songs, and that happened recently with your For King and Country and your collaboration with them.
Yeah.
When you have that moment when you can do a song like Place in This World, which is now at this point, like I said, this is probably going on the second or third generation of artist and audience that have connected with that track. When that song came out, I was 5 years old. Okay, I don't want to date it, about 5 years old. So when I listened to it at 5 years old, I don't know if I necessarily get it. I'm like, the Mark Lowry version was more my speed.
Face in This World.
Face in This World, which you make a great music video from.
Hilarious. Yeah.
But then fast forward 35 years or whatever it may be, and we're dealing with some stuff at home, some heaviness, some trauma. COVID changes the world, everything happens, and we're listening to Christian music. And that first line of Place in This World happens, and that melody comes in. And I felt like I got punched in the gut because it was like all of a sudden this song that everyone talked about that I was too young to really get now hit me in a different way, in a way that I finally got it. And now you're seeing a generation get to experience that because it's back on the radio and it's back on people's minds. Is that just a wild experience?
Pretty surreal. But you know what? I think the song is relative today just like it was in 1990. I mean, lyrically.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the music I think is turned out pretty
Holds
well,
up. Holds up pretty good.
there's a good marriage between the two. And I just got a clip from a bunch of these teenagers singing the chorus of "Place This World" the other day. I mean, hey guys, I'm 67.
Yeah.
It's like it's crazy.
Because
And then the whole Agnus Dei thing.
Yeah.
That was on Go West Young Man, and that's sort of back. And it's like, you can't orchestrate that stuff. I'm just grateful, and you know what, the Place This World thing I'll say real quick is that I don't get tired of singing it because I know I can't tell you how many times people come up and just said, I'm alive because of that song. I had an encounter with Christ because of that song. So the stories go on, and that's why I don't get tired of singing it. So,
and even for younger people that are coming, I mean, that's the thing. It's not people who were necessarily had to be there.
right.
That song is eternal in this way. And there are a few tracks like that happens to. I mean, Arms Around the Sun, what was the origin of that song? Where did that come from for
It
you?
fell out of the sky musically. It was I said in another
Sonically,
interview, it was a shuffle. It was different musically. And then Michael Olson, who I love writing songs with, he's a great lyric writer. He used to be an artist on Rocktown Records, and he sent me this thing that seemed to mesh with this chorus idea that I had, but it didn't feel right. Didn't feel, that wasn't right. What if I straightened it out? And all of a sudden, I can see the wind, but it's filling up my lungs. I went, oh my gosh. Providence before beginning, I began. I believe you are. All of a sudden, oh my goodness, I got excited.
Yeah.
My heart started welling
feel
up.
the John Williams.
I could just feel it's like, oh. And then I completed the chorus with his lyric, and then I wrote verses musically. It says I got verses musically, and all of a sudden, 24 hours later, he had thrown me stuff, and that's pretty much that.
Is that so much different now in the songwriting process? The fact that you can turn this around so quickly, that we live in a world where it's not just, you talk about the days of being in the studio for very, very long amounts of time working and then having so much time off. But now tech has changed everything. For you, is that liberating as a songwriter, or is it maybe more stressful?
No, it's definitely liberating definitely on some level. Yeah, it's better than, gosh, I remember the days we'd spend all day on a snare drum sound. Like, oh gosh, Brian Lennox, he would spend all day. It's like, whoo, guys, man, I don't have the capacity mentally or emotionally to do this. I'm going to go out and take a walk and come back. And now it's a lot easier, but I think you have to be careful with technology too, because I still love organic music. I still love real drums. I still love real bass. And on Arms Around the Sun, those are real instruments. But you've got some programming that's going on.
Yeah.
I will say that the writing thing has happened pretty quick, but I don't think I've taken this much time on songs in a long, long time. And that's probably Ted's fault.
Yeah.
Let me just say this, and if it sounds weird, I apologize. I don't need to do another record. So if I'm going to do one, which I'm excited because their songs are falling out of the sky, then I absolutely want to make sure that every song is stellar on every level. And so I get a mix, and it's going, oh, this is great. Then the next day, going, I hear one other thing. What if we did this? And what if we did? Ted, great idea. Yeah, what if we did this? And all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, we're still fine tuning Arms Around the Sun.
Yeah.
And it was the same with Flood. The same thing. It's like, it's got to be right. It's got to be right. It's got to be right. And you finally kind of get to it, and you listen to it, and you look at each other and go, I think we're good.
And it's very much a reverse on how it was. Oh, no.
No. All right.
Oh, hey, you should finish the interview and let me hold my picture.
Yeah. Why is it the one? Amy and you are sticking real strong. But that one, of course, this makes us look very professional. Aren't you glad that we took over CCM?
This is great. I love it.
All right, we'll get through it.
Okay.
I'll get where we were. So you were talking about how you don't feel like you need to make another album. That if it happens, it happens. If you're able to put together these songs that come together, it has to be perfect. There are a lot of bands that are feeling that way right now. One of my favorite bands is The Killers. The Killers have said specifically they've shelved 2 or 3 records, going, at this point we have done so many amazing records. We are not putting out anything that we don't love. And I'm going to see them now for the second or third time, probably touring the same material.
Right.
They haven't gone there. It's interesting because you brought up that same moment, but you also live in a moment where you can release Arms Around the Sun. You can produce it, put it out there. And honestly, it kind of goes back to the 60s singles era, where now the idea of putting out a full-length record, which is my era, what I grew up with everyone doing, it's not a necessity, but it also is kind of an art form.
Right.
So me as the fan goes, well, the art form to me was 10 songs, put together,
Right.
packaged beautifully, telling a story.
Yeah.
But that wasn't necessarily true before. How many incredible Beatles songs were B-sides that were never put on one of their main records? And now we're just kind of seeing that again.
I've never done this. I've never done the single thing.
Just dropping songs, yeah.
I've never done that. And I was a bit, not nervous, I was a bit like, I don't think I want to do that. I want to finish a record. I love making I still love albums.
Yeah, that's the same
Listening
here.
to albums from cut 1 to cut 12 or cut 13.
But that's what we grew up on too.
That's what we grew up on. And it's a different day.
Yeah.
I came from the golden age where people bought a lot of my CDs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in the 90s where it was amazing.
That's it.
I thought the record would come out in the fall. I knew deep down inside it would and be the spring of 26. But I'm sitting there going, I've got these 2 or 3, 4 songs that I don't want to wait till 26 for everybody to hear this. I want people to hear Arms Around the Sun.
Yeah. They need to hear.
And so we just said, well, so let's drop one in the summer. Let's drop one in Flood. So I guess the Arms was in May.
Yeah, a couple months apart. Yeah.
And then last Friday was Flood. I think September will be another one that I'm real crazy about, So.
And you can now add those to the live show. You're not having to wait.
Which we are.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these songs like Arms and Flood and this new song called Kingdom Come, I can't believe I said it, but they're infectious and they're upbeat and they're like, so far, I feel like it's sort of ramped up the show a little bit, and it's, and especially when you see people, especially the Flood thing, we've only been doing it for the last 2-3 months and I did it all over Europe and it was unbelievable. Just like, it was really incredible the way they responded because you just never know with a new song. They don't want to hear new songs. They want to hear Place. They want to hear Friends. They want to hear Waymaker.
Could be the bathroom break.
It could be.
But you've been able to use these songs not that way. And I think that is that energy that's coming through.
I think they're engaged. And
you're
I think
something people need to hear right now, too.
I think so.
And I think you're feeling that, which is,
I think so.
If you're going to write these songs, like you said, we want people to hear it now. Because right now, they kind of need to hear it. But do you find yourself, especially when we're talking about Christian music, when there is some more, there's weight to the words that you're carrying and have carried for 40 years now?
Well, I have a passion for people. I feel like I'm a pastor. I just pastor people through music, There's a lot of hurting people out there. There's a lot of people who need to be encouraged. I don't feel like in some ways, I don't think obviously you want to try to create something poetry-wise that you've never heard, like Arms Around the Sun to me is a fresh thought.
Yeah, very different.
But I feel like I'm just reminding people of something that they probably should already know. And when we sort of get in these really tough positions and life gets hard and we forget. So I think I'm just reminding them of what the book says.
Do you forget? Do you feel like you're writing this for you?
I'm writing for me.
Well, I was very thankful for King and Country guys also, is they're doing they feel how similar we do at CCM Magazine, this version, which is also to make sure we always are heading to the future, but let's not forget what got us here.
Yeah.
And those guys seem to care about it, and we care about that a lot, which is just like you want to talk about your influences and John Williams and the Beatles and Elton John. We want to talk about, make sure we're still talking about you and Amy, and then on all the offshoots of the alt rock stuff that happened, because it's important.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that there's now 45 plus years of legacy, not just of you, but 45 plus years of contemporary Christian music now. We're currently in the process of archiving it. So many of them are your face. Was that? You're killing me. Oh, you know what? Let's just cut. Let's just cut. We got it. That was
Michael went down.
That is it. Michael, you went down. The logo went down. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna sit right here and go, okay. That was Michael W. Smith here on CCM Magazine. As you can tell, we are very professional here.
Very.
So yeah, I'm glad you appreciate the legacy of CCM and that we're always up for the highest quality. CCM.
Hey, that's good content.
That is.
there.
Actually, an
That is a fun ending.